Peaks. Yeah, man. Welcome to the
Hi,
program.
sure.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Thanks, man.
Mafa and Mluleki, I'm sure will join us as time progresses. But
Yeah.
we will begin our chat. You've got a seriously colorful history with radio for you, Jeanette, that spans for decades. With so many different levels of radio and different kinds of radio that you've been doing. Kuyo yonke into, did you ever think this is where you'd be with the impact of what you're doing on radio today?
Well, it's been about 23 years. I think this is going to be my 24th year. As you say, it's been colorful. It's been full of almost everything that one, aspires to be when you're on radio. I mean, I've done almost every other shift on radio except for the afternoon drive. But that all has prepared me for the moment and the place where I am right now. And it hasn't been easy. It's been full of ups and
Yeah.
downs, but I guess all of it has been worth it. And when it comes to me seeing myself being here at this moment, 24 years later, I never saw this coming. I never saw this coming. I thought I was going to do this for about 5 to 10 years, make it to the top of South African radio and just leave it there. I mean, I never saw anything beyond the 10 years on radio
Yeah.
as a career
Yeah.
for myself.
And I mean, in all this time, when I pastor, abantu that you've grown with in radio, some you found on radio when you were still trying to find your feet. Most of those people are no longer a part of mainstream radio. A lot of them have let me say transcended to behind the scenes. People who are now in structures that are finding new talent, etc. Obviously, we're not
Yeah.
hearing them on the mic anymore. Which of these people, mhlambe ke, that you can talk about that you've learned so much from? I mean, there's so many people on the journey, but on your personal journey, who are the people that helped influence your journey personally and positively?
I guess just like anyone who wants to be on a platform here, radio, you listen to radio, Sapula, and you always have abantu that you look up to, have abantu whose styles that you mimic, okanye udibanise ezo nezo nezo in order to come out as the product, the final product that you want to sound like. So there always has been influence abantu who were on radio before me, even before I was on radio. And even when I started out, I mean, there's a lot of people, and you've been there for most of my journey, I guess.
Sure, sure.
I guess, no, I was about 8 years into this journey. No, maybe I was about 6 years into this journey when we started working together. And there's so many people that we started with, talented people, but I guess, somewhere, somehow, the talent for it to develop into what you want it to be, and of course, what is expected by the industry standards. You always have to measure yourself among your peers, and you always have to measure yourself among abo bantu who've come before you, just to try and make it better, just to try and make radio or take radio to the next level. And I think for him now, abantu enkenda phangela nabo who were there did have talent, probably shining in other departments. A
Yeah.
few still come up. I'm talking about people who are still there. People like Abo Nati, people like Abo Paul, people who are still on radio, and people who still aren't on radio. Slicer, we work together as well.
Yeah.
Amaza,
Yeah.
we work together as well. And who else? It's only a handful. That's the sad part. It's only a handful of them who are still in radio, and uninzi lwabo are still involved in radio in other forms of this industry, whether behind the mic or just decided to go into business here, radio. But at the end of the day, ndingathini na, they gave a contribution to radio and perhaps influenced us in a way. We are here because of the experiences that we went through Abuband. It's just a pity can't because some of them fell on the wayside.
And I mean, I see Mluleki is trying to connect with us. Mlu, can you hear me? Mlu, Yandiva. All right, we'll let the network do its due diligence while we continue. I look at this decade or so of Lenkubo and B.E.E. And how it started and how it's going now, and how each of you their roles is there and you have solidified what that program needs to be. Was that the plan? Oganye, did you guys have to find, because obviously now it seems like it was automatic. Obviously I know from behind the scenes that nothing is automatic. You can plan a show all you want, but when you get pa emoyeni, it's how people respond and what is needed from content. So was that originally the plan? Oganye, have you guys tailor-made it into what it is today?
From the onset, this whole thing of Fumana EO was never part of the plan. And when I say that, I mean from even its inception. When they started phoning people, when they started headhunting myself as well as Uputiza. The truth of the matter is that I was supposed to join a True FM, not a True FM, but in 2009. Contracts ready, stations had already spoken. But then again, somewhere in the beginning of 2009 or mid 2009, Bandizazba, just before contracts, Gabo March, no, Gabo February, January. I was under the impression that I was going to go to Mklobo to do the show as the host.
Okay.
And obviously they were, yeah. And obviously they're going to get me a producer and whatnot. Somewhere, somehow, the SABC experienced Ingagi as Malin, and they decided to apply as austerity measures. And they said, halt every job application, and every recruitment. Those people you had already promised, let them stay put until we fix the situation here as a station, as the SABC. So I ended up staying in Nantigeni True FM for another extra year. Ndingathi kwibhola laa nto kuthiwe sakhethe sibhatale isalari yakho kwecala, but you are on loan kwelaa cala lindapha ngokweeterms zebhola. So I stayed there for loo nyaka until izinto financially kwi-SABC zibe right, kuzovulwa nee-posts ezi nee-positions esazisele zinantsikiwe sele zinikiwe ebantwini. So i-True FM yangigcina for unyaka. Then when 2010 came, I guess they decided differently. They'd spoken to Padco and they told me a few weeks before I went to Mshobo, like 2010, the change of plan. We've decided to have Padco as the anchor, and you can come in as the producer. And I was only supposed to be there as the producer and in the challenge. So it was just a matter of days. No Mafa. They used to come in and news Mluleki Sports angene aphume. Nama was the producer. So Padco started saying, no man umsasaz izanga phambili sincokole, let's engage on some other things ezenzeka apha enkqubeni. Eventually Nomlu naye wangena noMafa wangena naye yaphela seyile team yabantu abayi-4. Ndizawuphendula le nto into yoba it was never the plan. The plan was just to have Padco on air, have Pastor as the producer yakhe, silent producer, Umlu noMafa come in. That was the original plan, but it changed as Basasikuba.
And I mean, it's developed over the years. The journey could not have been the same without the current team. I'm sure a different dynamic would have been there if other people were still or were to join or whatever the case. So, Kuni Kengogo, what do you think the biggest responsibility is that you have as this trio, when Nomafa, Nomlu, every single morning between Monday and Friday? What do you think your greatest responsibility is with so many listeners and with so much content that you're responsible for?
It's quite a tall order. As much as everyone strives to be on top, it's always difficult sustaining it or maintaining that level because your level of responsibility is multiplied so many times over. Because 1, you have to keep those numbers. 2, you must make sure that those numbers don't drop. 3, you've got a target on your back because everyone is gunning for you. Everyone is gunning for you. So how do you fulfill zonke ezi zinto zintathu? You have to make sure that all the time you are on top of your game. It's entertainment, it's information, and it's education. But what makes us stand out is how we deliver those 3 components.
Yeah.
It's the uniqueness of how we do it. It's the energy in the studio. It's how we relate to our phulaphuli bethu. So many factors go behind indaba ye-script nje qha on a daily basis. And as much as it sounds like chaos, believe you me, it's organized chaos. There's a script to B.E.E. There's this, there's prep to B.E.E. There's constant engagement about how we're going to handle the topics. And those things still even go on, even while we are off air, we're still brainstorming about how we're going to do the next link, how we're going to do that. So it's not easy. That's one thing I can tell you. It's not easy to try and satisfy bonke ababantu all at the same time. And what makes this situation so unique is the fact that you speak to LSMs as right across the spectrum. I'm talking about demographics, Sabandu. I'm talking about the level of education, where they live. So many other things. You get so many different people about Mamela as a teacher, about Mamela le program, people that you have to satisfy in the product. You're speaking to this one person, it doesn't matter what level of education whether you have to you have to cater for bonga bandu goglingana without sounding too smart or complicated for Romney, without sounding too we break it down. You always have to find the center. I think that's the most difficult part, and it's also something that we've also managed to master over the years. I mean, primarily it's a station for Abandaba over 35 to about 60. Right now, you're getting young people from as young as 18 listening to the station, and that's our secondary market. And over the years, they've grown to actually surpass amanani ababantu besimele basisasazela bona kanye kanye, because hey, we're just applying to everyone and we're giving content ebafanelayo kanye bonke abantu.
Kukhona comments apha ke Pastor Rico. Omnye uthi ndiyayithanda ke le combo qha iyakhumsha ngoku. Let Mafa speak before his English bundles ziphelele. Uthi I love you guys. Nguno Blom ke lo.
Unfortunately, Umafa, he's traveling. I've just been looking at messages. One, he forgot about the interview. Two, he's traveling and he says he's in a meeting right now, so he won't be joining us. Umlulu is still trying to connect. I'm not sure if you're going to but
he's
still
been
trying. Umafa is engaged somewhere else.
Umlu has been trying. We're just going to keep trying to get it on anyway. But I mean, when we speak, especially on the B.E.E. side of things, I think it's a shared experience. So it's not like would not reflect of course, and omnye ke ubongani Nqaba Oti, and good morning guys, you're doing such a wonderful job. Just a testament, when Pastor Rico, to the kind of thing that you guys are able to do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to touch so many lives? You know, I can hear it from a professional point of view about the type of things you have to do to keep the numbers, the entertainment. But what is it like to touch so many lives as a person that you are now, and somebody who I've had the pleasure of knowing you for years. So to touch so many lives, so many more lives on a daily basis, what is that like, and what does it mean to you?
First and foremost, brah, this whole experience is humbling. I remember I was with the True FM for about 11 years, and the True FM is a regional station, not with the listenership that wasn't more than 150 at the time. When I moved to a platform, where I can actually reach the rest of the country, you know, my life changed. It's life changing. It has been, talking on a personal level in terms of one indaba gigs, because that's the first change that came up. You know, when I started paying on Umshabo, within the first 2 months I joined the station as I was doing Upari time, I was exposed to the rest of the country. I started getting gigs from outside provinces, and the love. And, you know, over the years, more people start recognizing you because the calendar yomhlobo wenene, it's like a standard feature kumakhaya abantu abamnyama. So you may be in the smallest of towns where you don't even expect someone to know you, where you don't even expect someone to recognize you. In the smallest of places, Masamkambu Usam, what's this place? Oatson. I remember I was in Oatson,
Yes.
driving through with the family, a garage. And as I open the window, this guy says, "Hey, Pastor Rico." I'm like, "Uyandazi, uyandazi." Like, I'm like, ah, man. So
Yeah.
it's humbling and it's surprising and it fulfills you. It fulfills you and it shows you in the way you are on the right track. You know,
Oh
with the
man.
words of encouragement that we get from Abandu wherever we go, you can never fathom indlela ekwenza uba mawube mncinci ngayo wena when you engage with people on that level. It's humbling. It's humbling.
That's great, man. And I see where it's gone all of this
Mm.
time, and every now and then, check in on you guys personally to see, how are your growth and your plans still going. You've got another 10 years to look at now, because the
Yeah.
first 10 is gone.
Uh,
What are the aims that you and your team have spoken about as something that you still want to develop, over and above what you guys have achieved so far? We be
Again, I'm going to go back to Indaba pressure when you're at the top. I mean, we're the second biggest, if not the biggest. I'm not sure. It's been a tussle between us, no cause, over the 3 million mark, Abapulapuli, every week on the show. Now, over the years, Abapulapuli, in the last 11 years, in fact, it's going to be 12 years this April, uh, our listeners have they've known the show for certain features. And our numbers have always been based on these features. And as someone who's working with this team, who's working by every day from the outside, you want to develop it to the next level. But at the same
yeah
time, you don't know what to let go. You want to introduce izinto ezintsha, but you don't know what is an impact and program on this side. You understand? So
yeah
zikhona izinto ezo where we can't put our finger on it, but what it is exactly. It's the whole package, the show
yeah
that's put us
yeah
where we are. But on the technicality side of the radio, you want to try new things, but then you also are scared to lose abaphulaphuli bakho in the process as much as you'd love to move with the times. So kunzima, that's the difficulty we face with. In order for us to keep these numbers for the next 8 years, because 10 years, yes, being it's not easy. It's not easy. And at this level, with everyone watching, with everyone gunning for this, for Isho Lena, reaching it in terms of in numbers and maybe equaling it, okanye uyidlula, you can't just make it call mistakes that are going to cost you down the line. But why did
yeah
they do this? They shouldn't have. In numbers says so. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. Trust me. When you lead the pack, you always have to make sure that you listen to the people on the ground in Gakumbi. And of course, a lot of people will have their opinions as it different, but you have to try and please the majority. You can't please everyone, but
yeah
what guides you in that direction is what the station stands for more than anything else. If you go according to those guidelines, it's for uniformity. For about sound and now you sound as part of a team. Yes, TCS song, and let those guide you, and anything else of no edition, it must all fall within the guidelines of what the station wants. Because I can about sound there like a totally different station on one station. You obviously have to keep the rest of the team in the picture as well. Unfortunately, sometimes i-programs okanye ezinye izinto ongenakwazi uzicontrola wena ngokokwakho ezenzeka esitishini or even outside influences as well. But
sure
akho lula, bro. Akho lula. The next 10 years, we'll try and give it our best shot.
Nice, man. You spoke about the dynamics of working in a team. Mastetege. Now, I want to put the listeners into a picture of how things operate in the studio. You are behind the mic, controlling the desk as well as leading the conversation. You've
Yeah.
got two colleagues in Umafa as well as Umlu. who are experts who feel desirable, as well as experts on radio and being themselves on the mic as well.
Yeah.
What are the different dynamics like between your colleagues? I'd like to know how your process is with your guys. You know, because people hear it, classes Eva over the speakers, but
Yeah.
you as the one inside there, you know, what is what is it, that environment like? You know, and what's the process for you guys?
Yeah. Look, it was an Kalaman Kalekle point. It was an easy transition from Ikazubutiza Wayakona and up until the time when he left. Because Ufika Wedu, as I did mention, that I was the producer of the show, the
Yeah.
content producer of the show. And when he left, management said, "Look, we're not going to look for a producer. Continue with this role while you are anchoring the show as well." And I did that only up until no, not January, but December last year, where the show introduced in Ansiga another, they introduced the producer, yes, show, which was besides myself. Ulu Sizokanda has joined the team now. And they
Yes.
did that just to help me focus on the show itself. Now, my role on the show is no longer the producer, as well as be the anchor who drives the show, who creates the content for the show every day. I always have to make sure that everyone is on par with what is happening out there. So this is Tina Nsika, Ilendo is scripts kubo, and we discuss those. But umsebenzi wethu on a typical day is scripts as the producer will give them to us. So it says on the show. Trust me, environment in a when you put 3 or 4 guys in a room with guys, it's always like that. Women can never understand into yokuba hayi bo benihleli nje nihleli says no besincokola namajita singancokola for hours singamajita and about
Ewe.
anything and everything. And that's what I see the show as, a group of guys, 3 guys, controlled by guidelines, Zosasas, controlled by content, and we're just sitting there and just having a blast. That's how it happens. Now, ngaphandle koba mna ndikhona ndisemakhosini and whatnot, with the content itself, while ingoma idlala, off air, we're discussing whatever is on the script. And we come up with
Sure.
all these different angles, sincokola ngazo while the song is playing. So the next thing that happens, when we come back on air, we know exactly roles. This is while we're
Sure.
discussing this. So
Sure.
I'm leading the conversation. I'm actually as babe sincokola. Uyazazi uzibani bayena nasi opinion akazavela ngayo. Wena uzuvele ngale phikisa. Wena uzuvele ngale ithi. So all
Sure.
these things are pre-planned while we are on the show itself. And at the end of the day, for people who take, yes, we do have our serious moments, but for anyone who takes us seriously, yeah, and he has a sense of humor, yeah, you know, that show is all about fun. It's all about fun, but we have our serious moments also. And when we're serious, it's for serious manyanya.
Yeah. And I mean, you're also guided by what is really happening out there. It's not just everything that comes from Anika and logo to make it sound
Oh
fun. It's
no,
not about that.
not
Like everything that's happening is
not at
what is
all.
what drives. Yeah.
And this is one thing that I think abantu abaninzi, perhaps abanye abasasazi abasakhulayo, it's something that they also need to start doing if abakaqala uyenza. Ayikho into edlula preparation. Ayikho into edlula uba ube curious about what is happening around the world. Phakamisa incwadi okanye uphakamise noba liphepha. I do that every day. I mean, uyakhumbula nawe ngeentsuku zam zakudala while sasebenza sonke, I always had my diary in the car because there's always things happening around. And the good thing about that, instead of say content ka Twitter or ka Facebook, driving into town, there's always something that you can pick up on onothetha ngayo. And when you speak about this, omnye umntu noba ukweyiphi na indawo, that person will say, yazi ndiyayazi le nto ayithethayo because nam ndikhe ndayibona eCape Town ndazibuze yabo. So i-content yethu, it's just around us. It's just
Yeah,
around us,
man.
the content yethu.
Yeah, man.
But uyazi uba kwenzeka ntoni elizweni lakho as well, in terms of empowering yourself with the knowledge, whether it's current affairs, because abaphulaphuli sometimes will embarrass you. Umntu akubuze ngento eyenzeka kwi-current affairs. Ayikho into eyenza intloni njengomsasazi ongazi nix nge-current affairs. While everyone is talking
Azayo.
about this, kumnyama kuwe wena uya you know. So i-content yethu basically now it's just around us. Apho ukhoyo, there's content. There's
Sure.
conflict. And I always can relate to that.
No doubt. Some more comments here. Mboniseli Funani uthi hoping that upastor akayiphethanga akidrink ejijelwe nge-toilet paper.
I know exactly what he's talking about.
Of course ke we've got uJunior Lihle uthi ndiyabulisa kunimsasazi apho kwisitishi esingashishiziyo ndihleli nani apha eGauteng. Just a lot of people checking in when I pass that to show that they are here for the conversation, and it's a support thing, and I love the fact that as people are coming in, they make reference. There's quite a few of them who make reference to Imihlinzo that happened on your show. How did those come about? I know you've always been one for such. You and I, especially, we've sat many times with all those stories. Prep, but we always go back and forth with these things. So it was lovely to see that transform into now. I think where if one day would go by, for whatever purpose or reason on your program, you might find that target on your back getting bigger. So, why do you think people relate so much to that, and why did you think it was so important for that to be part of Inqubo?
It was actually by accident how it came about. And as I said in the beginning, Indoba, I was only supposed to sit there and produce for Rupert Kowaliena as Sasas. And he said, no, man, for the Sasas, when I'm now, so I had to find something to do. And he said, isn't there something that you can do? Nobody feature it, nobody 5 minutes. I'm like, let me think, what can I do? And I came across some strange news, and I read one of those for Rihanna during the show. And he said, every day, this is what you're going to do. And I collect strange news, and we'll discuss it. About this. And it just came up just like that. Next jokes is even the Kamanalo love Velangai. Because and Parko says, no, man, let's just say and we decided to go with that, and it's been so many years. 11 years. And the stress about that thing is that every day adikwazi ulala ndingapublishanga to find stories zangomso, to find the punchline kaSakhiman yomhlinzo yangomso. It's like a monkey on my back. Ndisindwa every day. Adikwazi ukonwaba ndingeyazi ba ayikhude guy for ngomso kusasa. But people need to laugh in the emsebenzini kusasa. People need to stress, and I think it comes at the right time. While abazali nabe 7, while 20:7, while umama notata nabantwana besesemotweni, because izikolo ziqala nge-7:30. Abanye abantu bangena emsebenzini ngo-7:30. So it unites ifamily. Nobe phunywe endlini kuqatyano besemotweni, but the minute kufika emsebenzini kuhleze naloo kwaqatyanwa ngayo.
Yes, man.
And I was also, let me say, we were also humbled by Indaba Yogba. I mean, one of the papers, the Sikhosa, not one, khona nencwadi nakhe yakota nemihlinzi incwadi ebhaliweyo kakade, even nakumaphepha grade 12, I think for iminyaka emibini, where they'll quote izinto ezenzeka on our show, more especially imihlinzo. I mean, having that ifeaturisha with national exams, yes, Sikhosa, something that you do on the radio, it's just mind-blowing. It's ingapha kwethu, and I don't know what we can do without those. No, but no funi itshintshe imihlinzo. South Africa ngiqinisekile.
You.
Ayiqhubekanga kuthi le.
Khethile mhlekazi. Because I mean that is now original content that has translated to curriculum. That's big. That's big. People like us never see things like that coming. We're so busy just worried about what tomorrow's show will be like, and any other things are happening. Umlu, the sports guru in his very much own right, someone very deserving of the kind of knowledge that he gets to impart about sports and also about life, because obviously there's two sides to each person there before there's the crew. I did get a confirmation from Umlu Uti struggling to join. You know, he had been trying shame, but he says that you Pastor represents the team. So
Yeah.
we'll continue the conversation. Sibabini. Tell us about the best parts about working with someone like Umlu and how you feel like every time his inputs come, you know, those things that shoot your way and you're like, yeah, you see, this is what I mean, I'm talking about the unplanned stuff. The planned stuff is just for format, but the call is in the as and you feel like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So the direction, yeah.
You know, abantu abaninzi, they hear and perceive Umlu as the serious guy. Umlu doesn't laugh at anything we laugh at Nanomafa on air. But come off air, the craziest of people. Umlu, he's actually the joker of the team. Abantu abaninzi bangacema nguMafa, but no, Umlu's on another level. But when it comes to emoyeni, he takes his work seriously. Yes, that's the
Sure.
story, Sakumlu. When he talks sports, he's the Bible. Yes, but Umlu, you can ask him about his final yango 1986 tournament ethile yesoka, who was goalie for iteam ethile. He goals, he even tell you next as he goals ezangena ngalo and who equalized off the top of his head,
Yo.
off the top of his head. And you switch from that, you go to cricket, you go to swimming, you go to even fishes, Musumlu. I think the background, yeah, Selbo. You also went to a Tubalete as well. There's a bit of Ikasi Pakuye as well, but
Sure.
more the coconut side, yeah, Lake. And I guess going there exposed him to a lot of Lendayazio Naenzayo with Galale sports. The most down to earth. You've never heard Umlu and you say like he's got his moments though. I mean, over the years I've learned to do about now. You don't want to press a wrong button, Gamlu. Trust me,
Anyway.
you don't want it. But we've seen each other grow, see team, you know. I was married when I joined the team, so was Patco. I think Nomafana I chatted before Mlu, and Mlu was the only single guy on the team. And he didn't have a girlfriend, and he's always very secretive about his Mlu. Tinazotuka says to Mlu, we are chatting, we're like, but with who? Because he's always been that kind of person. Very secretive, Mlu, but yeah, I mean, he's a father now, 3 kids later. You're starting to see Amatale because we came, see fresh, see young, eager to make this work. But then over the years, we've developed into a data. And I've seen a totally different side of Umlunai, the responsible father, the romantic husband, you know, your uncle Londole. That's Umlu for you in a nutshell. But in the nutshell, lo mlu ucimba ke eradioweni umlu othule awumazi umlu wamunya.
Let's switch it up to Umafa. When he's not laughing, Lando in the yak, which we know, that the most contagious laugh by far, Mzansi on the airwaves. Because, like you were saying earlier about if you leave the house, and Bonisani totally nomto or your family, or then you guys kind of level out in the humor. Umlu is the same because you could be having a terrible morning, but when you hear that laugh, I promise you, but you laugh first and then listen in later.
You're right.
And I know Umlu to be. I mean, I know Umafa to be very. I know Mafa to be very thorough with the information that he researches. He's a journalist by profession, but also someone who respects the craft. So when he switches between these two, between this joker and the really serious news bringer and news giver, who has a responsibility of being very accurate, because you guys can be quoted. The with B.E.E., which is a Google of sorts. People don't have to verify further than that. Abanye. You know, how does that process come about when you watch it happen? I mean, you are there with them and you guys are working together, you know, the other side of the laugh.
Yeah, well, and as you say, Umafa, he switches up like that. I remember, and I still believe, Indoba Bandabaninze are still convinced when he was doing the 12 to 1 news slot. Yeah, I think it is Buzwagut. So he would be on the B.E.E. Kusasa Fundi News headlines, laughing all the time. But then when it came to Indaba, cut 12 to 1, Mafa would be a totally different person. And some people are still convinced Indoba no, but no Mafa Ababi, if I'm trouble. There's the Mafa with B.E.E. and then there's Umafa Low Wendaba in the afternoon.
Upavuma.
So and the journalist in him is always there. The journalist in him also guides us, kumaxesha maninzi, in how we look at these news stories and how we balance inantsika izinto thina as a show, because we might see a story sibone angry over masithi, and Umafa will always be there to balance things out because of his journalistic background, to put things into context, and of course all the time to protect us from a backlash or maybe something else that might even come. Omnye umntu ayikote ngendlela erong esithi kuthiwe phaya. So his contribution to the show is that valuable. But as a person, Tanda insane. He's always laughing.
Yes.
Always laughing, Umafa. A softy at heart. Umafa, you can talk about a situation, let's say, year orphans or whatnot. Umafa, he's a softy at heart. And also Abantu Abaninzi, and I think he's also playing that ticket very well because it's who he is. His background, yes, his farmer, honestly.
Yeah.
And he used to come to a town for real all day. But he's always been Umdu Assess farmer from Ukale Chris, Uyajugu grade 12. He was only exposed to Ubomba Sedolopini when he came to Ebai for the university. So some of these things is Yamshi and yeah, and he also plays that part very well because at sometimes Namdi Uma from nowhere joker or is he really serious?
Sure.
I can never tell because he plays that role so well. Even off air, Mafa, seriously, you don't know? And he says, I really don't know that. And you're like, no, this is general knowledge. But Jaman Sichago, he's managed to make that work for him. He's made that his other alias. And for that matter, but trust me, there is Zindo behind Yongeland Seed. I mean, he's an honor student, yes, from NMMU, Nelson Mandela University. So there is in Mondopaya, but Abantu Abaninzi may see this role that he plays. Where you portray a certain character and people will start believing it, but that's who you are. But at the end of the day, he's one of the pillars. In fact, each and every single one, probably Sobatatu. Simesu Sobatatu Sinjalo.
Yeah. Do you gentlemen realize that you are now close to breaking the record books in the history of radio? Some that came even before some of us were listening to radio. Longevity, numbers, the makeup of the team, and I don't want us to focus on the pressures associated with that. As a broadcaster, lifelong entertainer, what does that do to the way you are looking at the future? If this is where you are now, obviously you are looking at furthering your abilities and realizing that you may not have shot high enough in the beginning, because to be here and still be surprised by, yay, I did it to get to this point, but also there's more to do because more doors are open at a certain stage. Is this in line with what you as a lifelong entertainer plan on doing, and is this also in line with what the team is planning as well?
Yeah, well, it wasn't easy getting to this point. And
No.
what you said about us breaking records in terms of longevity, what was a motivation to us over, I'd say, the last 5 years was in Dabaye numbers. When we surpassed Ukozi at some point, the listenership over 3.1 million, we realized that actually we could actually break records, Glenda Manani, because these numbers have never been reached as station ever before. So that's a record in itself. And when Uputiza left, there was the pressure of sustaining a listenership. Yala show by satisfying a trophy, but instead, let's grow it. But you've just made me realize into bengakhange sayicinga noyifaka kakhulu kwasengqondweni indaba yoba gents niyazibona uba niki-12 years ngona senza le show lelinye record kwaelo. I mean, I've never been on one show ever in my life for this long. The longest I've been on a show was, I think, about 4 years with breakfast show at True FM.
Get up and get down.
Yeah, get up and get down. I did that for 4 years. And that's the longest I stayed on show A1. But looking at this, 12 years, and she says I'm changing anytime soon. That's scary. It's scary because you know that you've got other talents on radio, onokwazi apply when you show and ungena ufithe twatse. There's also the fear you're typecast ngabantu, but he's only good for this and that. There are other things that you can do on radio as well besides Lenny Part. If you tell us another 5 years, not another 10. I'm sure Namachidanga Kala. No, another 10 years.
I more.
Look, it's not uvuka. One thing I can tell you, if in management depends and sharing it with Amachita, if management can say, guys, we're moving you from this show. Go and do a midday slot. Go and do a 9 to 12 slot. Go and do a 3 to 6 slot. We'd be very excited. We'd be very excited because that would be a new challenge. That would be an opportunity for us to prove to somebody else that we can do anything you can land on our lap. Anything you throw at us, we're willing to take that. Any other challenge, as no iniguatina, we show. And we're confident enough that I know stuck. So another 10 years on the show. Okay, we'll see. Let's see. I'm not sure if we'd love to go that far. The chance at breakfast and not just money challenge something else on another different show.
Yes.
But also do remember, I've only been on with the show for the last 12 years. While Mafa and Mluleki, they've been here 2 years before myself and Patko. They were there with Uslaiso, Nonomon.
Yes.
So it's 14 years for them. It's 12 years for me. Yeah, I'm sure now, but they wouldn't mind other challenges.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but so yeah, must cut his cool.
You are also a DJ and a producer, making music and traveling in your other time. What is that like, interacting with people who are listening to your show in the morning and you're there to play music for them, but when they see you, it's like I'll answer you later because in the morning and you've got a gig to play, things of that nature. Does that ever happen? And what kind of engagements are those? I mean, I know how people are when they see you in person, but at this level now, where a lot more people are exposed to you and a lot more people rush to these venues expecting to have one-on-ones with you, what's that like, and how do you manage that?
Funny enough, I do have time for the people. I do have time, not only on my listeners as well. I remember this past weekend, then this Malay we began trend there's a pictures This was probably my 8th time in the last 3 years. It's a place in sometimes twice a year. And I know almost everyone, but it's just about everyone who goes there. They take me as one of them, as part of the furniture. And the people I hang out with, I don't mind. But and radio, and I end up engaging with this person. And I end up engaging that person. The next time I go there, I always have time for a man. When I go to a gig, as says Tavern, as says Lokshin, I get there a good 2 hours before my set, just to sit and chill nabashaka and understand love okanye appreciation okanye genres of music bona bazimamelayo. It always helps me to mingle with abantu. I get to a venue, ndingene khona bodyguards or bouncers and whatnot ezinikaphayo. Tutus sendizimele kwazona phakathi kwabantu. I'm a really difficult person to guard. Awukwazi undivalela uthi wena uzawuhlala apha e-VIP nabaya abantu. That's not me. That's not me. Ndikhulele ekasi mna ndifuna uba phaa phakathi kwabantu. The fact that umsebenzi wam undibeka phambi kwamehlo abantu, it does not mean that mandi-acte umntu endingenguye. I cannot play. Ayingumntu endikhuliswe uba mandibe nguye kakade uba into yoba mandisixele into yoba wena uphaya mna ndilapha. That's not me. That's not me. By the way, Mluleki about confirm uti another 10 years. No. He just sent me a message. He's listening. Not another 10 years, please.
Uti 10 andanga. Aizuspana.
I think we're tired, yeah. But he managed to leave. But not that we're tired to wear Asifunusuzo. No, Asifunusuzo. But it's just that, yeah, we need other challenges now.
Awesome stuff, man. So, looking at your team, you've got your producer, you've got Mr. Lucizo. Actually worked with him. Actually worked with him when he was an intern. Yes.
It's my first time working with him. In fact, it's our first time. Nadi Sobatad. We've never known the guy before. So yeah. I mean, we've only been with him for 2 months now, or a month and a half. So he was
fresh out of varsity, and 2 interns got taken, him and another lady, and I think he was working with the breakfast show, and she was working with us on the midday frequency. Anyway, if you have to give each of your teammates an impromptu award, and this is the ceremony, me and you are here right now, and you're announcing the awards that you're giving your teammates, B.E.E. Which award goes to who?
Yo. I think Mafa for playing his part very well.
Yeah.
He plays that part very well. Sometimes he fools me. I can never tell. I can never tell Mafa when it comes to what he knows and what he doesn't know, and his sense of humor. He thinks on his feet. He's that quick. He can twist Indongongo, can turn it into a laughing moment right now. He's very good at what he does. And I guess no award in Gaya Kuye
for being yourself.
That's
for Mafa for being himself. He gets
yes. Yeah, and all the characters that he has, Panga Tikuye. Yeah, no, he deserves that award. Award. So Umlu, that guy's been consistent there. When you talk about your sports and everything else, his consistency, man. I always marvel at how good and how passionate he is about what he does. You talk about sports and anything else. Umlu's always on top of his game. I really still do not know or have ever met Omni Umdu who's so versatile in the knowledge yake when it comes to subject matter as sports. Sports in general. I remember Umlu even went to the Olympics. Was it in Japan or Korea?
The Tokyo
Olympics, eh?
Yeah.
Umlu was there covering badminton and swimming. I'm just like, which black guy? When udlala rugby, udlala cricket, udlala golf, and he goes to Beijing, China to cover even archery as well. I'm like, dude, in sports, you know.
It's not just the rules of the sport. Like he will tell you about who his favorite guy is, and he's been following. And this is his nephew who's taken over.
No, that guy's on another level when it comes to sports. Respect. Yeah, something. Those are the awards that I'd give them.
The award that I have to give you and your team before I let you go is to possibly the most influential team to do it as long and as consistently, and also with as much impact as you guys have done. So that award, impromptu as it is something that you guys should wear and not take lightly, because even new broadcasters, people who aspire to join a radio, for instance, some of them, they only want to join radio solely because of their experience of you and your team, and that's not something we look at as something that was which was going to happen on its own. That's how you
Yeah.
connect with people and their lives at the same
Yeah.
time as well, you know. So congratulations,
Thank you.
gentlemen, and
Thank you.
this goes to the future and also to whatever you decide to do individually and as a team. Know that your story needs to be told more, and it's not just you that tells the stories, but this is why we have
Yeah.
these conversations and we open up a little bit more about the other side of it, so people get to understand the depth behind the voice as well. Pastor Rico,
Yeah,
Ngana?
it's quite unfortunate that amajida angakwazanga sijoyina namhlanje. Umlu, he's been trying, but ukhona umamele naye because he's been sending me messages as well. And I'd like to apologize on behalf of Mafa as well, who had another engagement. Ebeselindele ngale interview only when we reminded him, and he was already in that meeting. So awuba abantu basixolela, and hopefully next time sakwazi basibe khona apho e-studio kuwe sidibane sobathathu and have
Yes,
a proper
yes.
discussion namajida sisonke siphelele.
I believe that. Pastor, thank you so much, man. Shout out to you and the team and everybody who supports and loves the program. This is to more years, to more growth, and to more impact, because you're doing it so well so far. Thank you,
Thanks,
gentlemen.
man. Thank you, Ndiabulela. Thank you for having me on your show. And thanks to Nomangesi, the station manager. I mean, he's got an inspiration for Tina Sisonge Apa Epondweni. And yeah, and thanks to those who joined us this morning for the interview. Ngosi kakhulu ngexesha lethu.